Good morning. Good morning. I'll make sure the stream is good. Everything is good. Audio's good. Picture's good. Audio's good. Yes. All right. Just read over the risk disclaimer before we get started here. Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are well. YouTube is saying something's wrong with my bit rate. So just let me know if anything goes wrong, but everything seems to be good. Good morning, Cody. Just read over the risk disclaimer. There is risk involved in trading. All right, so let me take this away, make sure everything's good. I'm going to get the chat here so I can bring it out. All right, so where we left off, I know the last time I live stream was last Thursday, and I've been communicating via Telegram what we should expect in price, and I think Sunday was a huge tell as far as what we should expect coming into yesterday, and even today as well. We have CPI tomorrow, so we have to be aware of this. We have to be aware of what is really playing out on these higher time frames, because if you're not aware of this, then you're not going to be aware of what the overall bias or narrative or, I guess, profile you're looking for in that day. Yesterday we saw a consolidational profile, which I did mention and pretty much predicted to a T. And I'm not saying that to boast, because I think all of you could learn how to do that as well. It's not very difficult. When you come off of a week like FOMC, NFP, a Monday, and then you're looking at the daily time frame as I was describing, it just didn't look like we were going to expand higher or lower. So in my opinion, I was just looking at this forecasting like, okay, we could probably create some type of fair value gap coming into Tuesday, which we're coming into right now. I've been up the last 2 hours just basically looking at the markets, trying to get a read on it. And it's still, to me, I need more information. I need more time, really, to be honest with you all. I need more time. I need to see what this opens like, because I can still see both sides. We're stuck in a really weird range on the daily time frame. And I'm looking at the dollar index. Dollar index is running higher currently. So I'm a little concerned as far as a bullish bias on ES. I want to wait and see what the open's like, maybe the first 30 minutes, and then we can maybe get a clear direction. We are coming into that daily fair value gap, which would be good if we want to see higher prices into, like I said, the balanced price range would be the first objective, and then ultimately the buy side liquidity. We could ultimately collapse underneath this. It's not a guarantee that we're going to use this to send price higher. So it's just a observation I'm making. I need to see real support in here that price wants to run higher, okay? And we could have a lackluster of a day because we have CPI ahead of us. It may just want to be kept in a range bound, consolidation type. So it may just be like a scalper's market intraday, which I talked about yesterday as well, is in the Telegram. If you want to be in that type of mindset where you're taking 5-handle trades or even less than that, you could take 3-handle trades. I've done that. I've done that type of style, and I think we're in that type of market and in type of that environment, but I would rather elect to take 1, 2, 10-handle, 15-handle trades a week and be done. And I'm trying to teach that and teach my style, at least the way I view the market, and hopefully that will help some of you, okay? If you see me being very patient and you don't really align with it, that's perfectly okay, but it's just the way I trade. So for those asking yesterday, like, why I didn't really outline some short-term scalps in the morning, it's just preferably what I would not want to do right now. Good to see you, Danny. So the 4-hour time frame, we're coming into this fair value gap. Like I said on Sunday, I'd rather see this stay open. Reason being is if this is truly bullish, in my opinion, I would rather see this stay open, because if we start reaching down into this discount, I could make the argument that we could run for the sell side. So I would rather see that stay open, and we do have a inversion fair value gap in here if you extend that out in time. If we drop underneath this, that would start taking my attention towards the sell side personally. I'll have to see what we look like, but that's personally what I'm looking at. Looking at the 1 hour as well, this is what I've been studying all morning and seeing what price is really wanting to do. So yesterday, NASDAQ had a bearish SMT. It was taking out the highs while YM and ES was not. So that is bearish SMT. We do have relative equal highs up here. To make note, we have 2 new week opening gaps and a new day opening gap. So if we start trending away from that, if we start moving heavily away from these, that could put us in a trending market being bearish, okay? If we start moving back towards this and then we start just seeing chop, then it's going to be consolidation. We would need to move through this aggressively in order to really be in a trending market as far as being bullish, in my opinion. So we're using the 1 hour SIBI right now. We closed under this fair value gap. I don't have annotated, but we closed underneath that basically right now. So we do have this reclaim fair value gap in here. We could revisit that, and then we could revisit this, which I stated on Sunday. If we move down into this region, that could be problematic if we want to look for a bullish bias. Reason being is if that's truly going to be bullish, to me, I'd rather see it stay open. So we just came off the open. Let me go ahead and look at lower time frames. So 30-minute time frame moved up into the SIBI in here. 15-minute time frame retraced up into our SIBI there, seeing displacement lower. 5-minute time frame, we have a SIBI resting in here. I don't have annotated. So what I'm going to be watching is, do we see a displacement towards, this is the 15-minute. I'll go out to the 15-minute just so you have an understanding. We have a 15-minute fair value gap here. So do we see a displacement towards that? I'll bring up the dollar index as well. So let me do that real quick. I know I'm a little late to the live stream, but I'm not really eager to jump into this. So just be patient with this morning. Dollar index is continuously driving higher, which, again, I stated on Sunday, I wanted to see lower prices. We have this SIBI in here, we're returning back up into. We have a small volume imbalance in there. So do we want to close that in and then see lower prices? Could be a possibility. We have a lot of sell side liquidity resting underneath these lows here on dollar. So I don't see a particular reason for dollar going higher, because we already took out buy side liquidity, returned it in a premium, tapped the mean threshold of that bearish order block, and then displaced lower last week, leaving the relative equal lows in here. I don't really see a reason why price is returning back to that bearish fair value gap. To me, it should have displaced lower. I'd pay attention to on dollar as far as the drawn liquidity on dollar is the volume imbalance. And like I said, if we want ES to go higher, we would need dollar to be going lower, which dollar is driving higher right now. So it could be signaling us that ES may want to turn bearish at this current moment. That's what I'd keep on the chart here. I'm not going to have dollar pulled up, so just have dollar annotated on your own chart. As far as ES, like ultimately, I'd be paying attention to that 1 hour fair value gap here. And can we seek that fair value gap? You could take a short-term scalp possibly into that. Like I said, I'm waiting for this morning. I'm waiting for like the first 30 minutes because I just don't have clarity right now, and I'd rather let time do the work for me. Like I said, if you look at NASDAQ took out its high yesterday while ES and YM did not. So that is a bearish SMT. Does NASDAQ want to gravitate towards its low at 13,254? That could be a drawn liquidity for NASDAQ. So I'm going to have a 5-minute on the right-hand side here. I'm actually going to make sure this is visible. So for those wondering, I do have one chart that's basically completely clear of annotations, and I have one that's fully marked up. Sometimes if you have too much annotations, it can kind of distort your own view. So sometimes I like to just completely clear my chart and look at it naked and try to get a bias from there. Make sure if you guys can put in the comments as long as the stream is good, because I haven't really checked. Just want to make sure before we continue. Thank you. So if we dig down into a 5-minute here, I know there's 2 of them, but rallied into this SIBI there, taking out buy-side liquidity. We displaced lower. If you look at your 1-minute here, seeing a displacement lower, we have a SIBI there. I'm not saying to go short there, but just observe and see how price reacts to it. I'm reading order flow currently to get a feel for price and what it's trying to do and gravitate towards. Like I said, with dollar being so bullish, it just puts a lot of concern on me trying to long ES. It just doesn't sit right with me with bearish SMT as well. So there's a couple concerning factors. I would have to see strong evidence that we'd want to move higher. So we took out this low here. Could be a run on sell stops where we see a displacement higher. I would need a shift above this high here to even really consider longs personally. When I'm reading these lower time frames like the 1 hour, the 30-minute, the 15-minute, the 5-minute, the 1 minute, they're all respecting bearish PD arrays. So I'm reading these lower time frames, and lower time frames will be the first to signal what is going to happen. So if we're truly bearish, price should just continue to respect bearish PD arrays and continuously displace lower. We're inside of, I'm just going to mark it up so you guys know, we're inside of this reclaimed 1 hour fair value gap here. So we're inside of that right now. Like I said, to me, I don't really want to see this revisited. Not revisited, but visited, to be honest. I don't want to see that if we're truly bullish. So it's one of those where it's 50-50 to me still. I just have to wait. And patience will pay you. We saw it last week. Took one setup last week. Provided 12 handles. You could have possibly gotten 20 handles out of last week off of one setup, one day. And that's all you could possibly need out of a week. So I'm keeping an eye on these higher time frames as well. I just want to make sure everything is there and visible. We're inside of a 30-minute fair value gap in here as well. 15-minute, there's a small one right here. So I'm probably just going to leave the 15-minute on the screen and then the 1 minute for now. We'll just see what price does. Nothing in here signals me to do anything at all. Any tips on finding daily bias? That's basically what I'm teaching. Every single day, that's how you read or gain an understanding on how to read daily bias or narrative, is sitting down with somebody with more experience that's been through multiple seasons. Narrative is something that you'll learn through time. It's not something you can just learn in a video. And narrative is daily bias. I guess a tip would just be, can you clearly identify draw on liquidity on the daily time frame? And if it can gravitate towards that, then your lower time frame entries should be aligned with that. So dollar did take out its buy side liquidity at 101.779. So we took the buy stops there. We're returning into a 4-hour breaker and the daily fair value gap. I'm just curious to see, is price just going to wait for tomorrow for CPI to unfold before anything really happens? It could be a possibility. So on the 1 minute, if we do close above this, do we treat this as support if we do close above it? So it would be an inversion fair value gap. This once was a SIBI. We extend that out in time, and that will become support if we truly are bullish. So we're seeing a displacement higher here. Dollar, we're seeing lower prices than that. There is bullish SMT with NASDAQ not taking out its low. If you look at your 5-minute time frame, YM did not make that lower low, and ES did as well. And NASDAQ made the lower low, so that's a bullish SMT on the 5-minute there. Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, so we have a pretty large RTH gap in here. So this was yesterday's closing price, 41.52, down to today's open. So I'll go ahead and annotate that. If we truly are bullish, we'd want to seek to fill that thing in. Just make sure the levels are good. All right. So that's our RTH gap in here, just so you guys are aware. So far, prior to the open, or basically right at the open, we took out sell side liquidity. We've seen a displacement higher above an old SIBI. So does this act as support to send price higher, at least into the buy side liquidity here? Like I said, nothing in here to me personally signals to go long. I'm reading order flow. I'm trying to gain a better understanding as far as what price wants to see currently. The 5-minute, if you really want clarity, the 5-minute and 15-minute are going to be probably the best time frames to look at when you're looking for intraday defined clarity, at least for me personally. So like a shift above this high and us running above this SIBI here on a 5-minute, even like a 15-minute, to me that would signal, okay, we could possibly really start looking for longs. If you're on a 1-minute, to me it's a little premature. That's just personally right now. If I'm super confident and I know where price is going, I know the overall, draw on liquidity, the narrative, that's when the 1-minute time frame is super useful to me. But right now, or if I'm just looking for, short-term scalps, 5 handles, I can use the 1-minute. But usually the 1-minute I'm just using to read order flow and gain an understanding as far as what price is trying to do. I think too many new students get stuck on this 1-minute time frame, and they're making so many mistakes on this 1-minute. And if you just zoom out, use the 5-minute, 15-minute, just higher time frame context, it's going to help you weed out a lot of those low probability setups. What time frame should we use for SMT? You can use every single time frame. I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but every single time frame will print an SMT. So it just depends on what you're looking for, what the overall narrative and draw on liquidity is. SMT is just a supporting factor. It's not something that as soon as you see it, you go long or short. You need to have your model present and then have SMT to support it. So does price come back down into, we have a small fair value gap here, and then this inversion level. So does it utilize this to send price higher into the buy side liquidity? If that does play out, then it'd give me a little bit of trust and a little bit of clarity to start looking for a potential setup to go higher. Otherwise, if you look at the 5-minute, nothing in here signals me to do anything at all. And so if you take a look at the dollar, we've basically moved up into the mean threshold of the bearish breaker. I would elect to believe it'd want to seek that volume imbalance above us since price has gotten so close to it. Like I said, even with the daily time frame, I don't see a reason why I'd want to revisit that bearish fair value gap. With CPI or any news event driver that's major, CPI, NFP, FOMC, I've talked about this multiple times, is if you have that ahead of us, excuse that, if you have that above you or in front of you, it can create very problematic price action. So you saw yesterday, very consolidation, seek and destroy. We could also see that today.